Hey, yo! Welcome to the latest episode of Sports Frenzy 2.0. I am the Maestro, Kevin Crane.
I'm the Conquistador, Dave Height.
Taping here on the 16th of March, 2022, episode 11 of 2022. Of course, my opening is in tribute to the great Scott Hall, one of the greatest wrestlers of the last 30 years. We'll talk more about that at other points, not only on this show, but on the weekend edition.
Yep, it's the sad passing of Razor Ramon.
Yep. But we have got a jam-packed 4-segment episode for you this week because this is like a conflagration of all these different things coming together. March Madness, NFL free agency, baseball because they had the lockout and pushed everything back. Free agents, trades. It's still got NASCAR to talk about. We still got dumbasses. Moments of silence. I mean, kids, 4 segments, and we still might not get to everything. So let's get into it.
Hold on, it's going to be a bumpy ride. Bracket busting time, baby.
Yep. First and foremost, we have to talk about March Madness, or as we like to call it here, Frenzy Madness.
That's right.
Because all of us fill out a bracket, all 8 of our panelists. We have 7 of them in right now, waiting on Nick the Juggler. But
deadline is actually tomorrow morning.
Right. A couple hours before tip-off of that first game. Now, everybody did pick the first 4. We do pick the first 4. So everybody got those picks in plenty of time. So unfortunately for the very, very, very immediate start, Dave went on an island last night with Wyoming against Indiana.
Pooh.
And then Mrs. C went on an island with Texas A&M Corpus Christi against Texas Southern. So everybody's 2-0 right now except for the Conquistador and Mrs. C. But of course, that could all change tonight.
One never knows.
We will be monitoring the games as we go through these segments because right now, as we're taping, we're at halftime, Wright State and Bryant.
Yep, 44-42 Wright State at the half.
Yeah, and we are split 4-4 on that game. So this one could be a very, very important one for our standings. And looking back at past years,
this is determined.
It's usually the first 4 in the first round.
Yeah.
That determine because we just do straight 1 point per win.
No
it's
waiting.
Not weighted. So if you get out to the lead after the first round by Saturday morning, you're in good shape. So we're going to give you an overview of our brackets, and then, of course, we'll dig in to what some of the experts and the pundits think. Of the 7 we've got in, we've got pretty much a consensus of Gonzaga.
Yep, 4 of the 7 so far. We have a Notre Dame, a Tennessee, and an Auburn.
And Gonzaga makes the Final 4 in every bracket except Mrs. C's because she loves Notre Dame so much.
Yep. Bless her heart.
Yep. I wish she'd waited because she doesn't even know if they're going to win tonight. But
she's going on faith.
Yep. That's why my bracket, I'm not submitting it yet. I've got every pick in except for I want to see what happens with Rutgers and Notre Dame tonight. That could alter and change my pick for that matchup with Alabama. And I can do that. I've learned.
Yes,
I've made that mistake in the past. I have made that mistake in the past. But this has got to be, to me, Gonzaga's year. It's got to be. They're due. They really do. And they brought back most of their players.
It's an experienced team that are playing very well.
Looking at some of the other highly ranked teams, Auburn, I don't know if I trust Bruce Pearl as much as Doug does. Doug's is the one that's got Auburn winning everything. I look at Auburn as boom or bust.
Yeah. that could be Kansas could be considered the same.
Yep.
Um,
Baylor seems to be the team that's really polarizing because
they are.
even though they're a number one seed and they're the defending champions, I don't have a lot of faith in them going very far. I just think it's so hard now to repeat and go back to back.
You can't. It's so damn difficult on this side.
And they have an awful draw in the East. The East has got to be the toughest of the four regions, in my opinion. When you've got UCLA in there, you've got Kentucky in there, you've got the ACC champion Va Tech in there.
It's
the Tar Heels, who might actually be playing the best basketball of anybody in the ACC right now. Murray State even is an upstart.
Yeah.
Who could knock off Kentucky in the second round if they get there.
Yeah. It's a wide open tournament. There's a lot of teams playing very well and some tough matchups.
Now you've got love for Villanova.
I like Villanova. They play very consistent. You were mentioning they could be on pace for a record-setting free throw percentage as a team.
Yep.
For one season.
Yeah, I heard that last night.
And they typically roll around. This is about every so often they make a huge run to the finals. And I just have a hunch that this could be one of those years for them.
Yeah, and as much as we've been ripping on college coaches here over the past 3 or 4 months, the phony Mike Krzyzewski, of course, Rick Pitino, who has never met a waitress he didn't want to bang, Bob Huggins, who's just an absolute dirtbag. West Virginia doesn't even make the bracket this year.
Yeah.
Jay Wright is one of the few still maybe possibly good guys in terms
potentially
of big-time college hoops programs.
Yeah, which is really saying something in this day and age.
Right. Even Mark Few of Gonzaga had the issue last year with the DUI.
Right.
So far, the Natalie-clad Jay Wright is pretty much squeaky clean. So, yeah, I always root for Villanova. I do like them. Of course, I'm going with momentum in that bracket, that segment, the South. I am going with Tennessee. I think they're on a roll.
They are playing extremely well.
Rick Barnes, I think, has got that team rolling. And Bill and Aaron agree with me, which is just bizarre that all three of us were of the same mindset when it came to the Volunteers.
Yeah.
Now, Bill, of course, has got reasons for it. He's a homer, kind of like Jen is with Notre Dame.
Yeah, Bill is with Tennessee.
Right. But even he says he thinks, like I do, that Gonzaga will beat Tennessee in the title game. Kentucky is another one that a lot of us are picking to go to the Final Four. But again, that Baylor-Kentucky matchup, if it comes to fruition in the East,
that's going to be a knockdown.
Yep. None of us really have a lot of faith in Duke. I'm not seeing Duke really anywhere in anybody's Final Four.
No.
Even though they're a 2 seed.
Aaron's
got Duke and Tennessee.
Duke and Tennessee and Duke in the finals.
Yeah, I just don't like the way Duke's been playing the last 3 weeks or so.
No, they cannot get on the same page as a team. And maybe they're so distracted by the final run of Coach K.
Well, and again, we talked about the fact that the ACC, to me, is having a down year. Now, that's a conference that we pretty much follow. Me with the Hurricanes. I know you don't necessarily like the Fighting Irish.
I don't follow the Irish basketball.
You don't really follow any basketball.
No.
But locally, the ACC obviously is important because of that.
Yeah.
So Notre Dame, of course, in the play-in game later tonight will play Rutgers, both 11 seeds technically.
Yeah.
And then Miami will play, as a 10 seed, will play number 7 USC. But I just think the ACC, they're going through a bad year. I don't care what everybody thinks about Duke in the last year of Coach K.
They're not a good team.
It's not a good conference this year. It's not.
They are way down.
They got, I think, 5 in.
Yeah.
Versus the 9 that the Big Ten got in.
Yeah, usually it's flip-flopped.
Right. So I don't see the ACC having a lot of success in this tournament. Just me.
And then this will be the year that they just find themselves and run roughshod through. Wouldn't that, oh God, that would just completely suck if K goes out on top. There would be no justice for anything if that would happen.
I just don't think it's going to happen with the way they got. If there was one game this year, if there was one game they should have won, it should have been that
the
last
final home game against Carolina.
And Carolina destroyed them, basically.
That was beautiful.
Duke fans go, well, it's close at half. You got beat by double digits.
You got your asses handed to you.
At home, Coach K's last game at Cameron. No excuse for that.
No, none whatsoever.
And then, of course, they could not even get to the finals.
In the tourney.
Right.
In the ACC
where
tourney.
Got on the run. And I always like the teams
that get on the run
like
late.
Tennessee, like Vatech. I like these teams that win their conference tournaments, gives them big momentum
helps.
Getting into the tournament, the big dance. So, a couple coaching tidbits here. And then we'll move on. We'll do NASCAR this segment.
Yeah, we can slide that one in.
Because next week, of course, we'll have a lot more to talk about. Of course, the first couple rounds.
Yes.
Of the NCAA tournament.
Gearing up for the Sweet 16.
Yep. Of course, your favorite, Bruce Weber.
Oh, poor Bruce Weber.
Out at Kansas State. He resigned. So at least he was able to leave with a modicum of grace.
He went out on his own terms. I liked Bruce when he was at Illinois. He always gave a great interview.
And of course, former Indiana coach Tom Crane could not do anything with Georgia either, so he's out with the Bulldogs. College basketball coaching is not for the faint of heart.
No, it's not. It's more cutthroat than in the NBA.
Was it Quanzo Martin, I think, also out at South Carolina?
Yeah.
The former Purdue great. So it's not fun, kids.
No, just...
Remember Shaka Smart?
Just ask Patrick Ewing how difficult it is.
Yes, we talked about that massive losing streak last week. And remember Shaka Smart, the wonderkind at VCU years ago, went to Texas, couldn't win a single tournament game.
Nope.
Now he's back in it again this year, but he's on his third big team. I mean, these guys just go from port to port to port to port, hoping
that they can strike it
ask
again.
Kelvin Sampson, ask Bruce Pearl. You can't all be Coach K.
That's right. And really, do you want to be?
I want to be Jay Wright. I tell you, right now, I hate to keep bringing up Jay Wright. I know that's your pick, but Jay Wright, the way the man dresses so sharp. But number one, I love that. I can't help but admire. The man's got style.
He still dresses to the nines on the sidelines. I love that.
He's like the anti-Bob Huggins. Huggins is one step away from cutting the sleeves off his
doing a Belichick.
Doing a Belichick on the sidelines for West Virginia.
Yeah, you still expect to see Huggins having some crusty stuff all down the front of his shirt.
Yeah, like he just spilled a plate of nachos at halftime while he was trying to give his team a pep talk. And the sad thing is I do like Huggins. At least he's brutally honest. He's a nasty human being.
He's an awful individual, but he doesn't pretend to be otherwise.
Right. He's had his run-ins with the law. He's not Coach K.
No.
You get him warts and all. Whereas Coach K pretends to be nice and bright and shiny and polished, and we've talked about it.
Where he's a scumball.
Ever since he decided he was going to dive in to the one-and-done pool.
Yep, and let his players take cheap shots all day long.
Grayson Allen.
Ugh. Yeah.
At least Calipari with Kentucky, my Final Four pick out of that side of the bracket. He knows. He's been in there for, 20 years doing this.
Yeah.
He knows how to work these players and say, hey, come for 1 year. We'll take a shot at the title.
Let's
if you
see
don't
what
get
we
it,
can do.
Go to the pros. And he's produced enough high caliber, high quality pro players. And for the most part, his guys really don't get in trouble.
No, they don't.
So he's the one that
he does a good job building them up and teaching them to be men
as quickly as possible.
as quick as possible, which you don't see from a lot of these other guys.
And of course, he's one of those coaches, though, that will leave a program in shambles when he's gone.
When he's done, yeah.
You're just waiting for the NCAA to say,
oh, really?
Infractions.
What did you do here?
Violations.
Duck out under cover of night, wait a year, and then resurrect somewhere else.
Yep. And somebody will always be there waiting with a blank check.
Yeah.
Ask Iona with Rick Pitino. Always somebody waiting to pull the Kelvin Sampson.
After
Bruce Pearl.
Yeah. Guys
both
who have
of those
destroyed
guys are
programs
having unbelievable success.
Horrible recruiting practices.
Yep.
And then they leave their program in shambles and fall up looking like a genius.
Yep, like you said, they fall up. Somehow they always end up falling up.
And why does the NCAA not come down harder on the coaches who do the violations? The schools get screwed and the coaches continue to go on to make millions.
Yep.
It's ridiculous. The coaches need to be held out for extended periods of time, and they need to be banned outright from coaching after a couple of violations. You screw up twice. Sorry, you probably shouldn't be coaching in college anymore.
All right, kids, moving on to NASCAR. Of course, segment 2, we will get into all the transactions in Major League Baseball. Segment 3 will be all the transactions in the NFL. The new league year just started about 4 hours ago.
Chaos is reigning supreme.
But of course, the one steady sport that we cover right now, finally well into their season, race number 4 at Phoenix this past weekend, NASCAR, of course. The Ruoff Mortgage 500K.
Yeah, whatever. Damn metric system.
And Dave and I off mic were talking about this. Are we starting to finally see? We've talked about this year after year after year.
When are the young drivers finally going to start showing that they have the capability to compete? And this seems to be the year. We've got our third young winner here.
Austin Cindric, of course, won Daytona. And now Chase Briscoe wins at Phoenix. Now, the other two, Alex Bowman, yes, technically he's young.
Yeah, but he's been winning for a couple of seasons now.
Even though, boy, I'll tell you what, Kyle Busch, again, proves to be the absolute jackass of all time with what he was saying about Bowman. At some point in NASCAR, once you get to like 6, 7, 8 wins, it's not
a fluke or a luck anymore.
Yeah.
That's skill, putting yourself in a position to win.
Yeah, but of course, Kyle Busch thinks he needs to win every race and should be granted wins for every race because he is the be-all, end-all.
He's an egomaniac asshat.
He whines and bitches and pisses and moans and cries. And I find it really insulting how he kept railing on Alex Bowman. But you can look at him as a young driver. I think he's been with Hendrick long enough where I think he's at the next stage.
Yeah.
And of course, Kyle Larson is as well.
Yeah.
But with Cindric winning, with now Chase Briscoe, of course, winning at Phoenix.
These are the young
Tyler Reddick
has been running very well.
Chastain nearly won.
Almost got
a couple weeks ago.
These guys are not just lucking into surviving and running up front at the end. No, they have been running up front week in and week out now.
Yes. Yes, now, of course, the next-gen car is causing problems for, in my opinion, Toyota, big time.
Yeah, Toyota is not adapting well to the next gen.
No, the Fords and the Chevys are handling this next-gen car much better. So I can tell you right now, I've picked 2 Toyotas in the first 4 races, and I got lucky. I am not touching a Toyota car for the immediate future. I'll go Chevy and Ford now until Toyota figures out what they're doing.
Yeah, until they can really pull into contention.
Right.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to pick one of them.
And now, of course, we're heading into a track where engine failure is the number one source of attrition.
Yeah.
Above and beyond any other course. I mean, you can say the super speedways because of wrecks, but I'm talking the engines blow up because this is a long, hard race. Of course, the fall race is worse, but Atlanta takes its toll on these cars.
Atlanta is such a fast track. It's only 1.5 miles, but the speeds they run usually are right up there with what you put up at a super speedway.
Right.
And they're on the gas for a long time, and those RPMs are jacked by the time they get to the end of the straights.
And we don't know what to expect.
Off
and we don't know what to expect now. New surface, slightly new configuration. So, and a new car.
Yeah. Not only do you have to worry about the engines, but you also have to worry about the transaxle.
Well, we've seen these guys slipping and sliding all over the place. The tires we're not sure about yet.
Yeah, they're not very stable.
No. So that being said, the Folds of Honor Quick Trip 500 from Atlanta Motor Speedway coming up here. Race 5, the 20th of March, 2022, this coming Sunday. Now, with the basketball picks, this, again, a crazy, crazy week for Sports Frenzy. So we're trying to get everybody to get all their picks in. So this week, we're dealing with a couple stragglers. But, again, they've got a few hours left.
Yep, deadline hasn't hit yet.
But we usually have about 6 or 7 at this point. We've only got 5 different drivers out of the 5 panelists who have submitted picks so far. We mentioned Tyler Reddick.
That's who I am taking for this week at Atlanta.
Not a bad pick at all. I'm going with the odds-on favorite because I like the speed he has had through the first month. It's my second pick already. I only get 3, but a lot of road courses coming up. Dirt track at Bristol, so I don't need Ryan Blaney for a long time from what I'm seeing on the schedule. So I'm going to go ahead and burn my second Ryan Blaney. Sam is going with Kevin Harvick, who looked really good last week, as he usually does at Phoenix.
Yeah, and that's the best he's looked at Phoenix in a few races.
Yeah. Yep, definitely agree with that. Bill is going with Joey Logano. And Aaron is going with Alex Bowman. Jen, Nick, and Doug are the stragglers, but again, they still got a couple hours to get their picks in. I got to say something about Chase Briscoe, though. I've got to. This is where the downslide for me starts this week, because eventually I'm going to get to dumbasses. I'm going to get angry, and then the weekend edition with all the PC crap that Hollywood does. But
are we going to play dumbass or douchebag?
Oh, yeah.
I think that could be a segment in and of itself.
But Chase Briscoe, I love the fact he won. Don't get me wrong, and I'm not trying to rip on the guy. But for a young kid, holy crap. Number one, shave the head. Shave the head, dude. That is way too young to be losing the front. The forehead is already halfway back. He has got to shave the head.
Dude, go gently into that baldness.
And then he has got a Jimmy Spencer body already.
Yeah, he's getting a little little paunchy there.
Yeah, I mean, that tracksuit goes out, not in. He doesn't have a six-pack. He was drinking a six-pack before the race.
He's got a pony keg going on in there.
He seems like an unbelievably nice kid. And I'm not trying. We'll get to the really mean-spirited Maestro stuff later. But, yeah, he's number one. Got to shave the head. And he has got to go on a cleanse. Maybe he should talk to Aaron Rodgers. Just make sure it's an off week.
Yeah. God, please.
Yeah, we don't need you talking about doing butter enemas the night before you go to, like, Bristol.
And then have your cooling suit go out and you roast your ass on the seat.
Yeah. Something's going to bake on that seat, and it's going to be nasty. All right, kids, that's your NASCAR recap and look ahead for the week. Of course, we will have more on the NCAA tournament. We'll give you updates throughout this episode as we get into football and baseball in our dumbasses. We'll probably have the Wright State Bryant final for you here before we're done.
Probably 14-15 to go. Wright State 60, Bryant 51.
Ooh, that's not looking good for my pick there. They had this arrogant kid, last name Kiss.
Oh, the one who...
Yeah, he's really cocky and really
arrogant. The cocky one who will fight the crowd, do push-ups after a basket.
Yeah. I figured, what the hell, I'll give him. I'll go with him. Looks like that's going to bite me on my ass. So, there you go. Segment 1 is done. 3 more to go. Next up, Major League Baseball is back, and they still are spending stupid money.
Idiotic money.
And they never fucking fixed the main problem, and we'll get to that.
Oh, badly we will get to that.
Hang on, kids. We'll be right back.
Hello, friends. Are you tired of the boring sports analysis you get from the major outlets? If so, join the Maestro and the Conquistador for a riveting discussion of all sports topics on Sports Frenzy 2.0, available on Spotify, Google, Apple, and wherever podcasts are available.
Well, beat the drum and hold the phone. There's new grass on the field. Welcome to Sports Frenzy 2.0, kids. I'm the Conquistador, Dave Height.
Along with the Maestro, Kevin Crane.
Here we are recording March 16th. This will drop on St. Patty's Day, the 17th. Major League Baseball time, kids.
Yeah, normally we would have had all this stuff pretty much resolved by now. We would have been well halfway into spring training.
Yep, gearing up for the start of the season. But no, the morons, owners, and the Idiot Players Association had to wait how many months before they got down to actually negotiating?
Yeah, and let's get to the point now. Doesn't it seem like we record on Wednesday night and all the big stuff happens Thursday?
Yeah, that's usually how it goes.
So, of course, at this time last week, there was no agreement. Now, all of a sudden, there's an agreement. A CBA has been approved, ratified, and now all of a sudden we got a week of craziness.
Insane. God.
So
welcome to Crazy Town.
We have had stuff for both our teams. The first big free agent signing, unfortunately, was one of your pitchers who goes away.
Yep. Carlos Rodon winds up going out to the West Coast. So good luck to him.
Stay away from those needles in the gutters, Carlos.
That's right. Playing for the
and the
Giants.
Hippie encampments.
Yeah. Good luck out there in San Fran, buddy.
Boy, I saw the numbers on that, and I was like, okay, crazy money starting up again.
Yeah, it's
one good year.
Yeah, coming off of surgery, and he showed that he was tiring down the stretch and wasn't as dominant as he was early on.
2 years, $44 million.
Oof.
See, I think that's a little crazy.
So do I. But that's why you test a free agent market and see who's going to throw the stupid money out there.
Yep. But of course, you guys made a couple other under the radar signings.
Yep, we wound up picking up 2 pitchers, 2 relievers, Vince Velasquez and Joe Kelly. We got coming over from the Dodgers, which is a huge boost to the bullpen, which really now makes Craig Kimbrell expendable. So hopefully we can pull something off and get something in return. And then it looks like we've picked up our second baseman for the year, 2-time All-Star Josh Harrison, who's also versatile enough to play anywhere. So between him and Leary Garcia, we have like top 2 utility guys in the AL, which gives us a lot of flexibility.
That's what she said.
But so going over to your Cubs.
Yeah, this has been a bizarre week for the Cubs. Of course, David Ross gets extended through 2024 because none of this is his fault, of course. So we have to kiss Uncle Rossi's ass and give him an extension because as bad as they've been, it's not his fault. And then out of the gate with the massive, monstrous move, no, it's not Carlos Correa. No, it's not Trevor Story. It's Andrelton Simmons on a 1-year, $4 million deal.
Talk about going cheap. But we addressed that last time. It's because your great and glorious owner is making a run at an MLS or a soccer team over in England.
Yeah. Now, under the radar, like some of your signings where I did like the fact that they brought Jesse Chavez back. I always liked him a couple years ago when he was with the Cubs.
Yeah.
So they bring him over from the World Series champion Braves. Thing is, they sign him to a minor league deal.
Yeah, see if he can.
Yeah,
he's going to make the.
He'll make
team.
the bullpen.
That's ridiculous.
He's already better than most of the pitchers we've got. Our bullpen, as opposed to yours, is a weakness, not a strength. Then I was just
we'll give you Kimbrel back for Nicky Two Strikes.
Shut up, Dave. I was sitting here fuming all week, going, here we go. Like you said, the soccer team bid is more important than doing anything with the Major League Baseball team. He's going into the whole, oh, they're stupid. They'll just come and drink beer and sit in the bleachers, and it doesn't matter if the team's any good or not. Mentality that I can't stand.
That the Tribune Company had for oh so long.
Yes. Then out of right field, not left field, he plays right field, which is, of course, where the big waste of money plays. So we'll see how they work this, how Uncle Rossi works this with the DH. But Seiya Suzuki.
Coming over from Japan.
Yep.
Puts up monster numbers.
Yes, his numbers look great, but you and I, again, this is something we've talked about year after year on Sports Frenzy, whether it was on YouTube, cable access, wherever it was, we would say, how many times did these players come over from Japan and fail miserably?
Quite often.
So maybe I don't know how much faith. Luckily, he's 27?
Yeah.
So he's not past his prime.
You're looking for the next Ichiro.
Well, this guy's got power. Yeah. That's the thing. This guy's got pop. 5 years, I have not been able to determine. I've seen 5 years, 70 million, 5 years, 85 million. So I don't know if they're that posting fee. Maybe
that might push it up.
15 million.
It could be the posting fee is 15.
So maybe it is a 570 with the 15 posting fee,
right,
to push it up to 585. If the guy is halfway decent, okay, fine. It's interesting. It makes a splash.
Gives you some semblance of hope.
Yeah, I all I could look at today, though, all I could look at was when is the Jason Hayward contract over? We got next year, end of next year, end of 2023. He goes bye-bye.
2 seasons to go.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. No, they still need help with pitching, and you and I were talking about this. This doesn't seem like a big signing. This is not a guy who's ever wanted to be under the spotlight. He turned the Yankees down years ago.
Right.
Said, I don't want to pitch in New York. I'm not that type of guy. Guy's got 219 career wins. Zach Greinke, going back to the Kansas City Royals, where he came from originally.
Yep. 1 year, $13 million deal.
Why the hell couldn't the White Sox or the Cubs pony up the money? I would have paid $15 million for one more year of him. You're not giving him more than that. He's 37 years old.
Yeah, you're looking for a middle to back end rotation to eat innings and keep you in games.
And that's what he does. And here's a guy you're familiar with, I just saw yesterday, who everybody wanted. The world wanted him. He's the next great. Chris Sale isn't going to be able to start the season.
Nope, he's injured again, starting on the 60-day DL.
This is why the Cubs won't trade Kyle Hendricks. This is why the Cubs should have gotten Zach Greinke, two of the most durable pitchers in the game, because they don't overthrow.
And everybody wondered, what were the White Sox thinking trading Chris Sale? They knew.
Looks brilliant.
They knew brilliant. Something was there.
Looks brilliant right now. Absolutely brilliant.
With what we got coming back, worked out very well. So looking at transactions, looks like the Cubs signed right-handed pitcher David Robertson for a 1-year deal.
Okay.
Then put terrible. Cody Hoyer on the 60-day DL.
That'll help the bullpen. Again.
Oh, I'm sorry. Not DL, IL.
Yes, you can't say disabled list. That's politically incorrect, Dave.
Bullshit.
Because we don't do that here in Sports Frenzy.
He's on the DL.
I still can't get used to saying IL. No, can't do it. Won't do it. Not gonna do it.
Not gonna.
But yeah, this is the thing. We have talked about pitchers. Now, granted, the Cubs got burned with Mark Pryor, and that guy looked like he had the perfect motion where he should have lasted 20 years. Yeah. Nothing taxing on his arm.
But still, he
somehow still ended up having issues. But you could tell with Chris Sale.
The violent arm action.
But then you look at a guy like Randy Johnson. How the hell did Randy Johnson put together a Hall of Fame career when it looked like he was putting so much torque on his arm?
Because Chris Sale had a little herky-jerky motion to it. Randy Johnson was fluid.
I would rather stay away from pitchers like that. But again, for every Chris Sale, you might miss out on a Randy Johnson.
Yeah.
I would just prefer a guy with a nice, compact, easy throw, a Greg Maddux, again, a Kyle Hendricks.
Mark Burley.
Mark Burley's a great example. Yeah, guys that don't put pressure on their arm. They use their brain.
They know how to
the ball,
pitch.
Locate the ball.
Vary their speeds. Vary the spin rates. They knew how to go up, down, in, out.
Speaking of another guy who's nothing but a headache and an injury waiting to happen as a pitcher, but he'll end up getting in the Hall of Fame someday. Clayton Kershaw is going back with the Dodgers.
Ugh.
He gets $17 million for a year.
If he even lasts a season.
But most of the trades and the signings have been hitters.
Yeah. That everybody wants the power.
Kyle Schwarber, former Cub.
Going to the Phillies.
Cashed in after having a really good year. Starting with the Nationals, then going to the Red Sox. He's going to get 4 years, $79 million to join Bryce Harper in Philadelphia.
Yep. That could be potent.
But again, the only reason he's getting that money is because they put the universal DH in.
Right. He's going to wind up being a DH. He is not going to be playing in the field
that much. And I wouldn't want him in the field if I was
you
Joe
don't
Girardi.
Want him out there. Let him hit.
Of course, the bone we have to pick in this segment, which we alluded to at the end of last segment, is your collective bargaining agreement solved jack shit
because
when it comes to competitive balance.
You didn't put in a hard floor. Teams have to know have to be held accountable to a minimum salary or a minimum cap that they have to spend. And already we've seen teams shedding money left and right.
Most notably, the Reds and the A's.
They are getting rid of contract after contract.
And we'll get to the transactions here in a second. But Dave and I sat down in the break. We've got 30 teams in Major League Baseball. Now you have 12 teams making the playoffs. We came up with 8 teams who are already out.
Not a chance in hell are they
no
getting
way in hell are
sniff
any of these 8 teams getting in, even with the expanded playoffs.
Right.
The Miami Marlins. That's why Derek Jeter said, screw you. You couldn't even increase the payroll $15 million. A measly $15 million
that he was promised.
Cost them a Hall of Fame player and executive. Garbage. The Pittsburgh Pirates, of course, doing nothing.
The Reds have been shedding.
Yeah, one of the 2 teams having fire sales. The Diamondbacks have done nothing. The Orioles have done nothing. The Royals, outside of Zach Greinke, I'm sorry, he's not putting them in the playoffs.
No, they've done nothing.
The Cleveland Guardians might be the most shameful of all of these teams.
They haven't even done, they've done nothing at all.
And then the A's, the Oakland A's.
Who are shedding left and right. They're worse than the Reds.
Yeah, let's look at the Reds and let's look at the A's. The A's have traded Chris Bassett, all-star pitcher, to the New York Mets, the new evil empire.
The new evil empire,
because now they're talking about we might spend over $300 million when this is all said and done.
Sure, why not?
Yeah, good job, MLB. Good job. Competitive balance, your number one priority, right?
Balls.
Then they trade Matt Chapman, solid, steady third baseman, to the Toronto Blue Jays. Then the biggest mess of all, the world champions, the Atlanta Braves, don't want to pay a 31-year-old Freddie Freeman, $250 million? Probably what he's going to end up getting from the Dodgers?
Probably.
Because that looks like where he's going. The Yankees are out. Maybe the Red Sox sneak in. The Blue Jays are out now because of the Chapman deal.
Right.
So they trade with the A's, get Matt Olson, the first baseman, young, solid power hitter, and they immediately turn around and they give him an 8-year, $168 million deal because it would have looked awful if they let Freddie Freeman go and didn't do anything.
Right. They had to do something.
So they gave up a lot of prospects to the A's. I will say that. They gave up a lot of their top prospects to the A's to get Matt Olson. But at least for their fans, they said, we're trying. You got to understand, we're bringing in a younger first baseman. He's going to be cheaper, and we've locked him up for 8 years. Whereas Freddie Freeman would have cost more for less years.
Right. So that was a solid move by the Braves.
Right.
Because they're going forward, and they still paid a good amount of money.
Right. Over $20 million a year for this kid over the next 8 years.
Yeah, and God forbid that the A's would have actually spent any money on him.
The A's, so embarrassing. The A's are so embarrassing.
So let's bring on some salary, but we don't have to worry because by the time his contract is up, we won't have to worry about it, and we've got all these prospects that we won't have to pay.
Yeah. What has Billy Beane done?
Destroyed
this analytic mentality
of
he
baseball.
Gets a fucking movie where he's played by Brad Pitt. Has he won one goddamn championship?
No.
Has he been to one goddamn World Series?
No.
But he's a brilliant man.
Because they're in contention. Yeah, getting you in contention doesn't do anything to put you over the top.
This just disgusts me. And we knew this was coming. You and I knew this was coming when they didn't listen to us. And there are other people out there who are with us. I know there's other people out there in the sports media.
You have to make these teams spend.
You need a floor. You need a salary floor. You've got to make Cleveland spend. You have got to make Oakland should never have been allowed to shed all these players.
No, they shouldn't. And my God, when the hell is Baltimore going to step up?
Because I know Baltimore's got money. You can argue Oakland.
Pittsburgh's got money. He's just a cheap ass who wants to put it in the bank.
Well, they all get money. Technically, you're right. They're all getting money from revenue sharing.
Yeah, that's supposed to go back into paying for the players' salaries.
The problem, again, they should have forced them
to do
in some way, shape, or form to spend money on their goddamn teams. So, that's 8 teams now. 8 teams, including the tanking A's and the tanking Reds, who traded Winkler, Suarez, and Sonny Gray away.
God, that's pathetic.
Oh, but we got Mike Minor from the Royals.
Big effing deal. You guys actually were close last year to being able to do something. If you would have spent a little more, brought in a couple of key players, you would have been in contention in your division.
And if you want to look at it this way, all 8 of these teams that we've listed that are out right now have some semblance of a history of success. Now,
Yes.
You might have to go back 30, 40 years.
They've all won World Series.
Again, the Pirates, it's been a long time.
It's been a long damn time. The Reds, you have to go all the way back.
Right. But yeah, I mean, the Pirates, you have to go all the way back to, Willie Stargell.
Yeah.
We Are Family. Back in the late 70s.
Yeah.
The Reds, at least, you can go back to the Lou Piniella and Eric Davis. Not quite so far back.
Not quite as far back. The late 80s A's.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. The A's
used to be something
were a
special.
juggernaut twice. Not once, but twice. In the 70s and in the 90s, were a juggernaut. They were the model
that you wanted to
everybody looked up to. The Cleveland Guardians, with Albert Bell, Jim Thome.
Granted, they didn't.
They got the World Series with the
World
Cubs.
Series with the Cubs.
And then they were great back with Bell and Thome.
Yeah, they were always vying to get there.
They were competitive. The Royals just won, 6, 7 years ago?
Yeah.
8 years ago? The Diamondbacks with Schilling and Johnson.
Yeah.
So all these teams, and
they've been there.
It's pathetic that they have just given up. Every team in the NFL, that's why the NFL rules. Every team in the NFL says, at most, we're 2 years away. We could turn this thing around.
Yeah.
Look at the Houston Texans right now, and we'll get to the NFL in the next segment. But look at the Houston Texans right now. They could say, if we can get 3 or 4 first-round picks for Deshaun Watson, and Nick Caserio actually has half a brain and can flip those around for a franchise quarterback.
Yep. Within 2 to 3 years, we're right there.
We can get back in the playoffs. That's not the case with baseball.
These guys aren't trying.
You have 10 teams in the middle is what we came up with. 10 teams. 22 who are competing for 12 playoff spots.
Yeah.
10 teams, and we're actually giving a break now with the news today that the Colorado Rockies spent stupid money on Chris Bryant. We're actually giving them a break. They would have been the 9th team.
Normally, they would be
on the bottom.
I just because they spent the money on Bryant, I still don't think they have a shot in hell.
No, I don't either. I don't think they do. They spent 7 years, $182 million on Chris Bryant.
Why?
So he's going to end up putting up stat whore numbers
out in Colorado,
and they're going to lose 95 games because they're still playing the Dodgers. They're still playing the very well coached, smart Giants.
And the Padres.
And the Padres are still living off of their spending spree, although their idiot franchise player,
Tatis.
I was going to save it for the dumbass or not.
This is too
segment.
good. Oh, I broke my wrist. His dad says, oh, he broke it falling down at home. It wasn't a motorcycle accident. Bullshit. Everybody knew it was a motorcycle accident. How many months ago? And now, he just decided to get surgery on it. Ridiculous. This should have been done right when it first freaking happened. It should have been taken care of correctly.
Two things. Number one, this is the problem with baseball with guaranteed money. Among all the dozens of problems they have, we've always said this is at the top of the list.
Is the worst.
This is why the NFL works, is, again, you give teams hope. You give fans hope. If you get an idiot like this who does something stupid like this,
you can cut bait and it's not going to kill you.
You're going to have to pay a penalty because there is guaranteed money involved, but not 100%.
Right.
Unless somehow you're Kirk fucking Cousins or Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah. Ugh.
We'll get to that again later. But this is just driving me crazy. How baseball fixed nothing, and 5 years from now we're going to be back here again.
Stupid ass thing, and I guarantee you they do not have the brains among them to try and get things worked out ahead of time, because that would be the smart thing to do. But nobody in baseball is smart when it comes to doing anything.
No, because of course they think all the rule changes they're going to implement next year are going to fix everything.
And they're not. There are too many damn issues. You can speed up
the pace of play. You can do all the things you want to do in terms of pitching changes and robo-umps, and that'll help a lot. But if you have 8 teams out of 30 right out of the gate that aren't a factor,
then what's the damn point?
It doesn't matter if you ban the shift. It doesn't matter what you do when it comes to making bigger bases. If the Pirates are going to be the Pirates,
and the Reds, contract them.
Send them to Portland.
Why do we need them?
Send them to Charlotte. Send them to another city.
Why are we going to send them somewhere else where the owner will probably do the same damn thing just to bank money?
I love the Tampa Bay Rays, but if they don't give them a goddamn new ballpark, and it shouldn't be taxpayer money.
No, it shouldn't at all.
Let them go to Montreal again. Let them become the Expos again.
Bring it back.
Put them somewhere where they'll be viable, where they'll have an owner who will actually spend money and make them a viable contender.
Please. All right. You ready for the Wright State Bryant update?
Go ahead.
3:34 to go. Wright State 85, Bryant 71.
Yeah, I lost that one. Damn it. That cocky-ass Kiss kid did not come through for me. Wrapping up the baseball segment, couple other transactions of note that we should bring up. Your competition in the AL Central, the Minnesota Twins, have been kind of playing around in a very, very sneaky, smart way.
Yeah, they're trying to fly under the radar.
Still don't know if they're good enough to really compete, but they were the ones that traded for Sonny Gray.
Yep.
From the Reds. And then this guy, at least in terms of fantasy baseball, I thought they made a great move when they brought in Isaiah Kiner-Falefa from the Rangers, but then they flipped him and they sent him to the Yankees and brought back Gary Sanchez and Gio Urshela.
Intriguing.
Very intriguing. The Twins are trying. At least I'll give them credit.
There's a small market team that is trying.
They still should have put a freaking roof on that stadium, though. God, an open-air baseball stadium in Minnesota just makes no sense whatsoever. Of course, we did not mention opening day will be April 7th now.
Yep.
No tiebreaker games. There will not be like if two teams tie for the division lead or for the wild card. There will be no play-in games. They will have tiebreakers set up to decide who gets in.
They're going to go head-to-head within division. There
within
you go.
NL, AL, wherever
Yeah.
they might be. We talked about the Apple TV deal. Now there is a deal in place with Peacock. Now they're saying there's going to be games on Peacock this coming year. 18 games.
Done with the streaming bullshit for sports.
Starting, I believe, as early as 11:30 Sunday morning.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to run up against the previous contract games on FS1 and Fox.
Yeah. So they're
starting
trying
in the early afternoon.
Yeah. Whatever.
Basically, the money grubbers are just trying to find any and every source of income they can.
So frustrating.
Of course, New York sports fans think that they should be able to, as we mentioned, the Mets.
Print
the new
money.
owner wants to, just be able to go over $300 million. He doesn't care. The Yankees are at least trying to be somewhat
they're
sane in
they
their
are
money,
not going
in
stupid.
their expenditures. Of course, now the funny thing is the New York vaccination rules could come into play unless they're changed. Guys like, we've heard Aaron Judge's name mentioned. He might not be able to play in New York unless they change the vaccination mandate.
And isn't this his last year of the contract? He's looking for a long-term deal.
They say they're negotiating.
Yeah, can they afford it?
And then I hate to wrap up on a negative here in segment 2, because I hate the Mets right now. The Mets are the evil empire. We mentioned that. They are the new evil empire. They are worse than the Yankees right now.
Oh, by far and away.
But nobody wishes. Pete Alonso, their star young first baseman. Did you see the car accident he got into?
Oh my God, yeah, on his way to camp.
Truck flipped.
Yeah, somebody blew a red light, hit his vehicle, and it flipped over multiple times, landed on its roof, and he had to kick his way out of the windshield.
Yeah, his wife was following him.
Yeah.
And saw this. And he comes out with a scratch on his arm. Thank God.
Thank God. That's scary as hell. I'm glad he is okay.
Yep. We are all okay. That Pete Alonso made it through that.
Yeah.
All right. Football. Time to shift gears to the NFL, kids. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
This episode of Sports Frenzy 2.0 is brought to you by the Bills Mafia Marital Aid Company. Because when you are down and out, we'll bring you back up and in the game. Sports Frenzy 2.0 on Spotify, Anchor, Google, Radio Public, Pocket Cast, Breaker, Apple, Overcast, Castbox, and Stitcher.
Hey, yo. Welcome back. Segment 3, Sports Frenzy 2.0, taping here on the 16th of March, 2022. This will hit tomorrow morning, the 17th. Spotify, Anchor, Google, Radio Public, Pocket Cast. Stop me if you've heard this before, Dave. Breaker, Apple, Overcast, Castbox, and Stitcher! Busy week in sports for us here at Sports Frenzy 2.0. So let's get into the NFL. As the league year officially started today.
Wow. Do we want to do free agency stuff or do we want to do announcers?
Isn't it kind of like one and the same now?
Pretty much. Good Lord. Ugh.
Yeah, we can start off with Joe Buck. We knew this was coming.
Yep, we were just wondering how long it would take.
Joe Buck is going to officially join Troy Aikman on Monday Night Football.
Yep, joining the evil sports network empire.
The mothership.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, I like to call them the motherfuckers. I remember 25 years ago, I would watch SportsCenter on a loop.
Yeah, when it was good.
Yeah.
When all they focused on was what was going on in sports.
And not the political bullshit and
opinions and everything else. When it was just straight up facts of what was going on.
Highlights. Without elaboration, without the announcers, the commentators, the hosts.
having to,
inserting themselves into the story.
yeah.
Oh, what's my catchphrase? And I know he's dead.
Booyah!
God rest his soul. But Stuart Scott is the one I blame for this. He's the one I blame for that. Yes, you all love him there at the mothership. The
But come on.
ship.
He was annoying as hell.
He's the one that started all this crap. He gave us Gus Johnson. He gave us all of these other idiots who all they care about is making themselves bigger than the game itself.
Yep. You had that. We just got rid of that in baseball with Joe West finally retiring. But we're in football, so.
So, of course, Buck and Aikman to ESPN, we talked about Kirk Herbstreit to Amazon.
Yep, that's...
We're still waiting to see what happens with Al Michaels. Will he officially go over to Amazon, join Herbstreit?
Does NBC pony up to keep him?
I like the fact that the Fox Sports powers that be basically came out.
Said, we're not overpaying.
No, people tune in to watch the games.
Exactly.
Desperation again on ESPN's part. So how many people are they going to have to fire now?
To pay for Buck and Aikman.
Yeah.
You know you could probably pay for both of them with letting Stephen A. Smith go.
Oh, my God. What a waste of space he is. Oh, wait, I better not say anything. He'll send his boys after me, his thugs, because you don't say anything bad about Stephen A. Smith.
We just did.
You're a pussy. I'm saying it right now. I told you guys it was coming. I told you. Stephen A. Smith is a pussy. He's a blowhard, just like Skip Bayless, so I'm not a racist.
No, Skip Bayless is probably the most useless person they have over there.
These guys talk a big game. Brandon Tierney's another one. Oh, we're big tough guys. You sit behind a microphone. Dave and I aren't picking fights.
No.
We're just telling you how it is, what our opinions are. You guys are out there trying to pick fights. Stephen A. Smith, you are not a thug. You are not a bad, bad man. Go home, have an apple teeny, soak in your bubble bath, and leave the rest of the serious sports journalism to Dave and I. Okay? That being said, let's talk about football.
Free agency signings. Movement of players.
Of course, Khalil Mack again.
Happens
right after
we're done.
Last week.
Gah.
Bears trade Khalil Mack to the Chargers.
For 2 second-round picks. But the Chargers took all the money. And that was a lot of money.
I know. And again, we've been looking at the salary cap numbers. Still can't get updated final figures. It looks like the Bears are by far and away the leaders in dead cap money this year.
God, which...
All I can figure is Poles is just going to wipe the slate clean this year, suffer through 2022, and then give himself a clean slate for 2023.
He has to. He's got no room to work with. With everything that Pace had done, he's got nothing.
Pace he swung for the fences.
And missed.
Yes.
Badly.
Yep. His launch angle was no good.
No. Overpaid. Overextended.
Traded away picks. Picks that could have brought us better young players.
Yeah.
I mean...
There had to be that day of reckoning at some point.
And it is now.
And you know what? You got a new guy coming in. We have to give him the benefit of the doubt. He has got to do something to turn the ship around. And this is, unfortunately, it's going to be ugly, but we got to get rid of the dead money. And cutting bait with these guys now gets it all out of the way in one fell swoop.
Yep, and we still got cap room.
We've got cap room, but we'll have a shit ton more. We shouldn't lose any more draft picks.
Right. I still think we should have got more for Khalil Mack from the Chargers.
I do too, but who
Again,
knows what else?
If they're taking the entire salary off our hands, this is kind of like Carson Wentz going to the Commanders.
Right.
This is why the Colts took whatever they could get.
Yeah, because the Commanders are taking the entire salary.
Right. So the Bears, the one big signing the Bears have got, they bring in defensive tackle Larry Ogunjobi from the
Bengals.
AFC champion Bengals.
Yep.
Basically offsetting the fact they let Eddie Goldman go.
Yeah. And we get a much better player by far. And then
run stopper. Very, very good run stopper by all accounts.
Good. And then we also made a pickup on the offensive line, getting Lucas Patrick coming out of Green Bay.
A Packer. Oh, my God.
I know. Gunk, gunk.
Yeah. We've still, unfortunately, I look at it as we have still got so many more holes to fill. We've got, and I know we got to do it on the cheap. Even though we do have cap room, we can't be stupid.
We got to be smart about it because Pace was stupid about signings. And Poles told us up front he was going to be going slow in free agency. He didn't want to get dumb. He wanted to be smart about this.
Right. And patience works out for you sometimes when it comes to the NFL.
Yeah, because there's still some big names out there.
Right.
That haven't gone anywhere yet. Maybe
do you bring back a
bitter?
Do you bring back a bitter Robinson if he's out there another couple weeks and he realizes he has to take a 1-year deal somewhere? Or is he so bitter about the Bears putting the franchise tag on him last year?
It's a different regime right now. Different coach, different GM.
And the prices
are stupid.
The salaries on these wide receivers, you've got to wait. But we do need at least one, if not two more, wide receivers.
Supposedly,
Jarvis Landry intrigues me.
He does.
He's another one I would.
Smith.
Yep, Juju.
Juju Schuster-Smith is supposedly on the Bears' radar.
But again, I'm not overpaying for him.
Right.
I'd actually rather have Landry. Slot receiver, really good slot receiver.
Yep.
But again, you're going to have to wait these guys out.
You got to
bring the price down.
It's
and
scary.
Again, we talked about you're going to have to find a way to pay Roquan Smith. You cannot let Floyd and Mack and Roquan Smith go. You are going to have to keep Roquan.
You have to keep Roquan. He has been your best defensive player since you drafted him. He has been phenomenal. He has been the stalwart on that defense.
Right.
The only one who continues to show up week in and week out.
Yep. You still probably need to get another offensive lineman. I would still like to get a freaking decent tight end. I'm sorry. Cole Kmet does not impress me.
No. And was it the previous regime, the coaching, that didn't know how to use him or coach him up?
Yeah, we'll talk about that again at some other point in time about the confidence or lack of that we have in the current regime.
Well, obviously the Steelers saw something in Mitch Trubisky thinking they can do something with him.
Yeah, I was convinced. I was sure he would end up going
to the Giants.
To compete with Daniel Jones because of Dayball.
Yeah.
And the background he had last year with them. But he ends up going to Pittsburgh.
Interesting.
I guarantee you, they draft a quarterback in the first round. Can you say Kenny Pickett? From Pittsburgh?
Well,
the University of Pittsburgh? I could see them drafting Kenny Pickett.
They have to do something.
Yeah.
Might as well take a shot.
Of course, the Giants decided to go with Tyrod Taylor, which I feel bad. I've always said I listen to New York sports talk instead of Chicago. They are just wallowing in misery as Giants fans right now. They look at the Jets.
Tyrod Taylor or David Jones. Are you effing kidding me?
Yeah. They actually wanted Trubisky. They thought that might give them a little spark, a little hope of optimism. And now, yeah, it's Tyrod Taylor or Daniel Jones.
Ouch.
Yeah. And the Giants have unbelievably worse cap situation than the Bears. Because while we could get out from under this next year, they are stuck in a bad spot for quite a while.
Yeah,
they overpaid for Kenny Golladay. I mean, they have overpaid for a lot of bad players.
They have. They are going to be bad for a long, long time because of their cap, what they did to themselves.
Again, another bad GM.
Yep.
This guy was worse than Ryan Pace.
That's a scary thought.
Gettleman drafted Saquon Barkley, number 2 overall, said he's a gold jacket player.
Yeah. Kind of started out good. Again, great coming out of the gate, but no longevity.
Injuries. And here, again, I hate to keep harping on New York stuff, but there are people out there in the New York Jets camp that are mulling trading for Christian McCaffrey. Well, if we bring him in, he won't get injured anymore.
You know what? If Carolina can get anything to get him off the books for them, take it. Take it. He does no good.
Yeah, Matt Rule is desperate
injured
right now. Matt Rule is desperate. Remember a couple years ago, he was the next big thing. Yeah. Bringing him in from college, from Baylor, right?
Yeah.
To end up being the next big, hot, young college coach to jump to the pros. And it's been nothing but a disaster.
And it's not all his fault.
Well, here's where we have to talk about Deshaun Watson. This would be a good point to jump into this, because the Panthers are a team that is hot and heavy. Again, Matt Rule, desperate.
Right.
They fucked up going after Teddy Bridgewater. They fucked up going after Sam Darnold. And now they know they have got to hit a home run here. Here's the interesting thing, of course, this week. We talked about Deshaun Watson last Friday. Being deposed. No criminal charges will be put forth. Now, the civil cases are still open.
But without the criminal charges, that means a lesser suspension coming down from the NFL. So You're probably looking at a 4-game.
At most max. 8. At most 8.
4 to 8.
Yep. 4 to 8. So these teams now know what they're dealing with. Here's the interesting thing that I have heard about the Deshaun Watson situation. Of course, you've got Cleveland, who requested to talk to, and Baker Mayfield. I love Cleveland, but I'm done.
Thank you, Cleveland.
I'm done.
Well, Deshaun said Cleveland is not one of the places I'm willing to go to.
This is what's interesting, is that Deshaun Watson has veto power on any trade. The Texans would not allow the Colts to talk to Deshaun Watson because, of course, that would be in division, not only in conference, but in division. Here's the interesting thing. Multiple teams, the Panthers, the Saints, the Falcons, among them, have made offers to the Texans that they've already accepted. It's all up to Deshaun
where he wants to go.
The Texans have already told these teams, you've offered enough. We'll take it. If
Deshaun wants to, wherever he wants to go, that's where we're taking.
So there are already multiple offers accepted for Deshaun Watson, including the Panthers, including the Saints, including the Falcons. It's all up to Deshaun now. This is so fascinating to me.
This is intriguing beyond belief. Now, what does Matty Ice do?
Now the rumors are, if it's the Falcons, if the Falcons end up getting Deshaun Watson, Matty Ice would not be part of the deal.
Okay, so they could trade him
to the Colts.
To the Colts.
The Colts are supposedly the preferred destination on both ways. The Colts want him. He would go to the Colts.
That would be a good match right there.
Yep.
Matty
Ice with the Colts would be
that would give the Colts a huge step up.
Yep. So that would work out for all parties involved. Although, if I'm Deshaun Watson, I look again with the situation he's put himself in. He can choose where he goes, but at the same time,
he's got to make a choice. Freaking microscope,
and he's got to make a choice.
Yeah,
he can't do what he did last year and just sit around and earn $35 million sitting at home.
Right. That's
done. They're going to trade him. But if I look at the Panthers and I look at the Falcons and I look at the Saints, I look at playing potentially with Alvin Kamara and Michael Thomas versus
also,
Russell Gage is now with my Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Right.
Calvin Ridley doesn't know if he's ever going to play football again.
Why would you go to Atlanta?
You got Kyle Pitts and nothing else.
That's it.
You have no running back. You have no wide receivers. You have a stud tight end. That's it.
Yeah.
Carolina, decent receivers. And, of course, the China
doll, McCaffrey, but you don't know. Can you rely on him?
Now, Sean Payton's not in New Orleans anymore, but
the tools
with
are
Kamara
there.
And Michael Thomas, I would be tempted to go there. Now, I don't know how, with the cap numbers.
How can the Saints
and the
pull this
difficulty
off?
they've had.
They're leveraged up to their eyeballs, too.
They would have to trade a shit ton of current contracts. I mean, do you send Taysom Hill to the Texans?
Well, he's got to be on the table now that Peyton's no longer there, right?
Yeah, that's a good point, because that was kind of, you got the impression that that was kind of a project that Sean Payton wanted.
That was a pet project.
Right. Jameis Winston's still out there. What happens to him?
Why isn't anybody looking at him right now? They're all waiting for Watson to fall.
Literally, the Saints are one quarterback away from being able to contend again in that division. Again, I don't know how they can make it work with the cap, because they've got cap issues. Now, everybody supposedly today at 4:00 had to be under the cap. So supposedly everybody right now is fine.
Supposedly. Restructured deals and everything.
All right, we got to look at other signings. Randy Gregory screws over the Dallas Cowboys.
That's beautiful. They tried to screw him over with the language in the contract saying if he even got fined, he voided his guaranteed money.
And so he went to Denver, which we assume took away the money they had earmarked for Von Miller.
Bring Von Miller back, but now Von Miller, rumors are saying he's going to Buffalo, which shores up that defense for a big run.
Man, that team, if they don't make it back to the AFC Championship or get to the AFC Championship
next year, there's something wrong.
They should be able to cruise through that division.
They should.
Sorry, we'll get to the Dolphins in a second, but
yeah. Well, and then we've got the unretirement news. Mr. Brady goes back to Tampa.
Again, just happens right after we taped last week.
Ugh.
I have one more year to love the Buccaneers. And how about
unfinished business?
How about 48 hours before that, the people that bid on the final touchdown
football over
$518,000
wasted.
Supposedly, I've been listening to many people talk about this. Supposedly, with the way the auctions work, it happened over the weekend. last weekend, they can back out on it.
Because he's come out and it is no longer.
No. Well, basically, they will be persona non grata with the auction house ever again because they can back out, but it's like one of those.
You're blackballed.
Right. There's nothing illegal about backing out.
Right. But
because all they do is verify that you have the money to pay for the item, but you don't have to pay for it.
Right. Now, but to me, that's a legitimate back out because it is no longer the item that was auctioned off.
Right. That's the big debate. Right. So Tom Brady comes back to the Buccaneers. They lost, of course, Ali Marpet, we talked about, retired. I'm very focused on the offensive line because they got to protect this guy. He's getting old, man. Alex Kappa left to go to Cincinnati because, of course, they need the offensive line help. So they had to trade with the Patriots and bring in Shaq Mason. So at least they've been able to piecemeal. Ryan Jensen re-signed as center. So basically, if they can get another guard, then they'll be able to keep that line stable. I mentioned Russell Gage. They're bringing him in from Atlanta to replace basically Antonio Brown.
Right.
The psycho nut job.
Yeah, the wackadoodle.
You in Miami with the Dolphins, your second team. This guy, I like to call him the pothead.
McDaniel.
Yeah. He loves his running backs.
He loves his running backs.
Oh, my God.
Good Lord. Well, he had the three-headed monster in San Francisco. Now he's trying to put that back together in Miami.
Including one of the three heads from San Francisco.
Mostert just signed a one-year deal to come over, joining Chase Edmonds to be there with, I guess, Gaskin is still there by all accounts. So we'll see. I hated to see Duke Johnson just be there on that one-year deal because he actually ran pretty well for him when he was in there.
I love Duke. I'd love to see the Bears pick him up. I would love to see the
Back
Bears
up Montgomery.
pick him up. Yep.
That would be a good one, too.
Yep. Of course, you bring in Teddy Bridgewater to back up Tua.
Hey,
he's a backup.
As a backup, he's fine.
Solid backup. So, not only does the pothead love running backs, but he must also love wide receivers. Because you've got the stud young guy who just came off a phenomenal rookie season in Jalen Waddle.
Yep. God, that kid is good.
You still got Devontae Parker. And now you steal Cedric Wilson away from the Cowboys. Yet another way the Cowboys get screwed.
Love it. That
2 of the 4 Cowboys receivers gone.
Yep. Cooper to the Browns. Then a cap move.
And now Cedric Wilson.
And Cedric Wilson opts to go to Miami.
So they've got CeeDee Lamb in Dallas now, and Gallup just got an extension coming off a big knee injury, though.
Yeah, that's questionable. Miami could be intriguing.
Well, Jerry Jones has got more to worry about.
He does. He's got to worry about his paternity.
If you haven't heard, Jerry Jones has got an issue with his child, supposedly.
Yes, his daughter just wants to be recognized because her mother signed a NDA when she was a year old. And she's like, I cannot be held accountable for that. Sorry.
Now because she says, I don't want to say she says she's been traumatized, but she's lived her whole life without really being able to recognize or acknowledge her father. Now she says, hell with it, I'm 25.
Screw it.
This doesn't apply anymore to me.
Nope. I just want the recognition. I want it to be on record. I want closure in my life. Good for her. And how many other people are going to come out now following suit? How many kids did Jerry actually have? You brought it up
sports
weeks
is so
ago.
much fun.
How many weeks ago did you say The Cowboys are not squeaky clean. Jerry Jones is not squeaky clean. He's got his skeletons in the closet, and they're all starting to come out.
Because none of them are.
None of them are.
And they pick and choose which ones they want to go after. Somehow Dan Snyder keeps skating.
How does he keep the team?
But, of course, Jerry Richardson with the Panthers, they couldn't wait to get rid of his ass.
Oh, they couldn't cut his statue down fast enough.
And bring in Ballmer, because Ballmer's a nut job liberal who they all love.
It's frustrating as hell.
They're all corrupt. Money and power corrupt. We all know this.
Yep.
And maybe 5% of them get through relatively unscathed.
Grr.
Couple last second notes here before we move on to our final segment. Now the details are starting to leak on Aaron Rodgers' mammoth contract. I'm still trying to figure this out. It looks like it's $150 million, roughly, a little bit more, guaranteed. But the thing that I cannot figure out is I'm seeing people say, okay, this helps the Packers this year, drops their cap number, so they're able to be under right now. Again, Today they had to be under.
Yeah.
But I'm seeing
going forward,
$42 million next year, $60 million the year after that, almost 50 two voidable years at the end, which means they can push 2 years out, spread the money.
Spread the guaranteed.
Right, so they'll have a shit ton of dead cap money.
Yeah.
When you get to 25, 26, 27?
Yeah.
Back out there.
Duh.
I can't stand this. Why can't we just make it straight?
Don't push shit out forever.
We
don't need another Bobby Bonilla day.
Yeah, there's a limit to how far they can push it out. But still, kudos to these people, these capologists, who can figure this shit out for each and every team.
Yep. And we have a final. Wright State 93, Bryant 82.
Damn. All right, finally, Chandler Jones, one of the best defensive players in the league, goes to the Raiders. In turn, they trade Yannick Ngakoue, former Fighting Irish player, to the Colts. So they get a much-needed pass rusher. We're trying to do the best we can, kids, to keep up with all this. I'm sure we missed some.
We only get 1 day a week to try and wrap all this up.
Yep, and I'm sure there'll be a shit ton of stuff that happens tomorrow.
It always does.
One segment left. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Feeling mildly fatigued? Need a day off even if you just took one a few days ago? Make $30 million a year but just don't want to work for it? You need to join the NBA Load Management Club right now. When they're not napping or texting, guest lecturers Anthony Davis and Kyrie Irving will describe foolproof ways to earn tens of thousands of dollars by not doing anything. Sports Frenzy 2.0, available on Spotify, Google, Radio Public, Pocket Casts, and wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, is currently negotiating with LeBron James to bring his popular How to Make the Hall of Fame Without Really Trying webinar live and in person to the Load Management Club. Thanks again to Sports Frenzy 2.0 and all you apathetic fans out there for making us a success.
March 16th, 2022. This will hit March 17th, 2022. What, you ask? Sports Frenzy 2.0. Segment 4, Miscellaneous. I'm the Conquistador, Dave Height.
And I'm the Maestro, Kevin Crane.
All right. Let's lead in with some NHL to get this little segment going. As a Blackhawks fan, the one game I actually watched this season was Saturday night this past week up in Ottawa. Connor Murphy early in the first period took a nasty boarding hit and face planted into the glass, neck at an ugly angle, dropped to the ice, wasn't moving. Can only think at this point that he was knocked out, but everybody rushed out. They brought the stretcher out, got him strapped down. There was some movement from his arms and legs, and then he gave a thumbs up as they were taking him off. But they only showed the replay once. It was that ugly. Turns out it was only a concussion. Everything came back fine, and he went back with the team, but it resulted in a 5-minute major and a game misconduct for, God, I forgot to write the guy's name down from Ottawa who hit him, but scary moment. Thankfully, it was all fine. And then they wound up later on losing Tyler Johnson, who Ottawa was trying to clear a puck, and it wound up catching Johnson in the side of the head, knocking him out of the game with a concussion. So shorthanded. Hawks were down 2-0 after one. Jonathan Toews helps lead the comeback, gets in a fight on a questionable hit to one of his guys, puts up 2 goals. Hawks wind up with a 6-3 win. Fun game to watch, despite the scary beginnings. So thought, all right, great. They actually look like they're doing something here. And then they frickin' turn around and lose to the frickin' Boston Bruins 2-1 at home 2 nights later. Ugh, frustrating. So sad.
Speaking of frustrating, Tiger Woods was officially inducted into the World Golf Hall of Fame this past week. And of course, everybody and anybody who listens to this show knows how we feel about Tiger Woods. But of course, somehow he comes out smelling like a rose, has to have his daughter there by his side, which I find pathetic.
Well, that was to take all the negativity away from him.
Considering his history with women
and narcotics,
to have his daughter induct him into the World Golf Hall of Fame seems such a hypocritical bullshit move.
No, that was completely planned by Woods and his cronies to try and make him out to be a good guy.
Which we know he is not. And we need to stop pretending that he is a good guy. He is not a good guy. It's going to take more than just him bringing his daughter up at the World Golf Hall of Fame induction ceremony, or him having wonderful moments playing golf with his son.
You can't.
Anybody with half a brain understands what he did the previous 20 years.
You know who he is.
The cursing.
A tiger cannot change his stripes.
There you go. Novak Djokovic still is having issues trying to figure out a way to become the all-time leader in major wins in men's tennis.
Hey, at least this year it's saving the wear and tear on his body.
He cannot play Indian Wells. He cannot play Miami again in the U.S.
Come on, it's freaking Florida.
I thought Florida was the
Florida's
most lax.
the one freaking state where we expected him to be allowed to play. Come on.
But because it's international, that's
bullshit.
I guess the issue.
Bullshit.
And we'll get to Indian Wells again here in a few minutes, because one of our favorites is going to make an appearance in Dumbass or Not. We've got a special NBA segment, by the way, coming up of that as well.
We do. Should we play instead of Dumbass or Not? Should it be Douchebag or Not? Or Dumbass or Douchebag?
I don't know what the differentiation would be. We do have a couple moments of silence. former Major League player, pitcher, Odalis Perez, dies at 44, fell off a ladder.
Yeah, that's
the kind of stuff that I'm scared to death of.
You don't go on a ladder when you're alone. Rule 1. You know, short little step ladder, okay, but if you're of any height, no, you don't do it. I don't do it.
No, I would never do it. No.
I used to when I was younger and dumber, but no more.
Yeah, and isn't that amazing? In your 20s, you think you're invincible. And he was 44.
He should know better.
But professional athletes have a different mentality. So thoughts and prayers to his family. And, of course, the unbelievable tragedy with this car accident. University of the Southwest golf teams,
God.
Both male and female members of their respective
that's heartbreaking.
teams. Somebody crossed the center line, hit a van full of these players. Coach and players, 7 total at this taping have passed away. There are 2, I believe, others in critical condition.
Yeah.
And, of course, the driver and passenger of the truck that crossed the center line passed away.
Just a sad tragedy. Thoughts and prayers to everybody's family there.
This is why I always say live every day. Do not feel guilty. Do not feel regret, because you never know what's going to happen tomorrow. You just never know.
Don't be an evil human being.
Well, we don't know. I have not heard any information on...
Well, no, I'm just saying in general.
Right. You're going back to Tiger Woods.
Yes.
All right, let's start off with our NBA segment of Dumbass or Not.
So, forgot your big moment of silence. You've referred to it earlier.
Yeah, I was going to save it for the weekend edition, but I guess we should acknowledge it on both.
Because
I know wrestling people don't consider it a sport.
But they are athletes.
Yep, so of course he's referring to Scott Hall.
Razor Ramon, as he was also known.
One of the founding members of the greatest faction in wrestling history, the New World Order, the NWO, along with Kevin Nash and Hulk Hogan.
Such a shame.
And the thing is, the circumstances around his death scares me to death, because
the blood
and
clot.
I'm not trying to be facetious when I say that, but
had hip replacement and suffered blood clots that broke through.
3 heart attacks, had to go on life support, and Kevin Nash basically had to say he's going to die. They're going to have to take him off life support. We just have to make sure all his family members are here.
There, yeah.
Yeah. I do not want to go under the knife and go under anesthesia ever in my life. I'm sorry, I don't. Because this stuff happens. I know it's not the norm, but the odds are too great that somebody's going to fuck something up.
Yeah, but the blood clots had nothing to do with that. It's just something that can happen.
And he led a really rough life, too.
He did. Battled his demons
drugs,
and
alcohol abuse.
Yeah.
And, of course, we'll bring this up again on the weekend edition, because, again, it straddles the line between sports and entertainment. Now, because we just freaking hate the NBA so fucking much, everything in the NBA we were going to talk about this week is going under Dumbass or Not.
Yeah, it kind of has to.
I got a couple other ones, non-NBA related at the end, but I'm going to start off saying a positive thing about LeBron James, and then I'm going to let you...
And then I will just tear it down to shreds.
And we all know I do not believe LeBron James is the greatest player of all time. I will acknowledge the fact that by the time he's done, he'll probably be top 5. He probably will be.
I will give him top 5.
He, this past week, becomes the first ever NBA player who had 10,000 points, 10,000 assists, and 10,000 rebounds in his career.
Good for him.
Again, numbers that you cannot
can't deny.
take away. You can't deny. But
then he shows his frustration not once, but twice during the loss to the Raptors. First period winds up going on an F-bomb laced tirade on the sidelines on his teammates for their lack of effort. Then,
in a team that he put together, basically.
Yeah. The team that he handpicked that he cannot deal with right now goes off on him. Then in the second half, he and Raptors rookie Scotty Barnes battling for a loose ball, going out of bounds. Barnes falls to the court. LeBron jumps in the air. Usually, if you're trying to get it off the opposing player, it's just a quick little tap. No. LeBron, fully outstretched in the air with both hands, throws it down at the prone Barnes with all his strength. And the ball would have hit Barnes in the face if he wouldn't have recognized that it was coming and got his arms up to block it. Absolute douchebag, Bush League move. I'm sorry, that's a dirty play. You do not throw a ball with your entire force off of somebody, especially when you're throwing it at a guy's head. Absolutely ridiculous. Yes, it was a dirty play. Most people on social media called it out as a dirty play. Of course, the NBA does nothing.
Because he's the poster child for the NBA right now. And
classless.
Like golf, even though I still think going back a couple of weeks, it's still pathetic that they set up that program for popularity in golf and Tiger Woods ends up getting $8 million for not playing.
Yeah.
Same thing with LeBron James. The sport will be better when LeBron James is gone. Ben Simmons.
Oh,
now, this is
Ben.
This is a tough call.
Ben.
This is a tough call because part of me wants to say he wasn't being a dumbass. He was actually showing some balls, but at the same time, he didn't play. He made his return to Philadelphia after all that mess.
Ben.
But he returns, but he sits on the bench, does not play, and puts up with all the heckling and the jeering from the Philadelphia fans.
Gee.
Now
which he deserved because he wasn't playing.
Why would you even put yourself through that, though?
If you're going to go, why are you not playing?
Right. That's my point. Just stay at home. The Nets should have just said, stay at home.
Yeah, we don't want you there for the distraction if you're not going to play.
Right.
And why isn't he playing now?
Oh, he's got a lower back issue. Now, initially, people thought...
Is it yellow?
Now, yeah. Initially, people thought that that's what the deal was he was just going to milk this, as all these NBA players seem to do, milk the situation to avoid the conflict. But that's where I don't know what to do with him, whether he's a dumbass or not, because he should have just stayed behind and not have been a distraction, like you said. He's not playing, but at the same time, is he showing some semblance of a spine to take the Philly fan abuse sitting on the sidelines,
trying
on the bench?
To support his new team?
It's a tough one.
It is a tough one.
Now,
with his past history in Philly, I'm not going to say he's a dumbass. I'm going to call him out as a douchebag for being an antagonist and not really being there to help his team.
I don't know. It's just too tough for me to call because the thing with his back, and I did like that line about you calling it yellow, but now it's extended to the point where they don't even know if they're going to have him for the rest of the regular season. So it might actually be
So
a
maybe it is
legitimate
legit.
injury.
Maybe it is. In which case, I will take it back and say he was being a good teammate trying to support the Nets.
Speaking of the Nets, one of the guys I've got a reservation for on the sports frenzy plane of doom is Kyrie Irving. Everybody knows this. He makes regular appearances on the dumbass of the week list.
Puts up 60 points.
Yeah, against my fucking Orlando Magic. Thanks, Orlando. Thanks a lot for showing up. 60 points. But the game before, back in Brooklyn,
where he had to sit.
Yeah, of course, we can get into the whole vaccination mandate situation in New York. We talked about it in the first segment with the baseball, with the Yankees and the Mets.
Yep.
But here's the thing. We're talking about Ben Simmons, and was he trying to get attention? What was he doing? What was the point of him coming into Philadelphia, sitting on the bench? Now, Kyrie Irving, of course, can't play with the Nets in Brooklyn because he won't get vaccinated. Yet somehow, when they're playing the Knicks, so you got that inner city rivalry.
Right.
He wanders into the arena in the second quarter.
How is he allowed in?
He can see the game as a spectator.
Without a mask.
Right.
But he still can't play.
Right. Now, we can debate all we want about the stupidity of that and the New York vaccination mandate and how that works. But here's my question. Two-part. Okay? Number one, why did he wait until the second quarter to wander in and take seats in the arena? Again, it's all got to be about him. It's all got to be about him
of the game
being attention
where it draws
whore.
attention to himself.
He's an attention whore. That's why when he dropped 60 against Orlando, it pissed me off even more. Where he's kind of like saying, F you, everybody. Look what I can do.
I can still do this, even though you won't let me play at home.
Right. Now, here's the worst part of it all. I thought him being an attention whore, wandering into the arena in the second quarter in the middle of the game was bad enough. Of course, him saying, look at me, I'm Kyrie Irving. I flaunt convention. I'm so cool. He actually went back into the locker room after the game. $50,000 fine for the Nets. He's not allowed back in the locker room due to the vaccine mandate.
All right, that's a double dumbass. Because that's on him for going back there, and it's on the team for being dumb enough to let him go back there.
And that's the thing that I cannot stand about the modern athlete today is with all the money they make, with all the, especially in the NBA, with all the leverage and the power they have. A lot of people say, oh, good for the players, bad owners, good players. Fuck that. With all the money these players are making now, we just saw it with baseball.
Yeah. So Kyrie should be paying that $50,000 fine, not the team.
Right. One last basketball dumbass. This one's kind of more pedestrian, where we don't have to get into, violence or vaccine debates. game last week with the Grizzlies and the OKC Thunder. Both teams come out in white uniforms. Both teams come out in their white home unis. Who decided?
Who, for the road team, what equipment manager failed to pack the wrong uniform?
They eventually got it
There's
figured out.
There's protocols in place, people.
But of course, it was the referees, the umpires, whoever the officials had to get this sorted out, and they sent the one team back who got the road unis on. But both teams came out in white uniforms.
That's pathetic.
We've talked about this. We've talked about this with misspellings on uniforms. Hell, we've talked about this with books we read.
Right. The lack of editing.
Where
they're
lazy,
attention to detail.
They're lazy and they just let the computer do it, and there's 10 to 15 errors in a book you paid $20 for. Oh well.
Yeah,
sorry.
Oh well.
The laziness and stupidity and lack of caring about details drives me crazy in this world. Show some pride. Show some pride in your work.
Please.
Okay, I'm not sure who the dumbass is in this, but I'm just going to say this as a statement.
Blanket dumbass statement.
Yeah, and you decide who the dumbass is. Patrick Mahomes marries Brittany Matthews. Something in there's got to be a dumbass of the week. I don't know if it's him or her for marrying into the family with his dumbass brother.
I told you last week, both she and his brother wound up being two of the most vilified, hated people in the NFL in December. She must be good at certain things for Patrick to deal with everything.
Well, the one thing I'll say is that at least...
But they're high school sweethearts.
That's what I was going to say.
So it's...
At least you know she's not technically a gold digger.
Right.
But she's still an idiot and a dumbass.
This is true.
She and Pat's brother. Yeah, I said Pat. Sorry, Mama Mahomes. You and your golden vagina. You will call my son Patrick and not Pat.
Next topic.
Final one. A regular entrant, a regular participant in the Sports Frenzy Red Foreman Dumbass of the Week competition. This will piss everybody off here for the last 5 minutes. Let's just get into it. Call me every name in the book you want. Yes, she's back. Naomi Osaka.
Oh, for the love of God.
I mentioned the Indian Wells tournament that Novak Djokovic could not participate in. Of course, Naomi Osaka lost.
Did she have another breakdown?
She had another breakdown. She was getting...
Are we detecting a pattern here?
She was getting beat. There was a heckler in the crowd who dared to say, "Hey, Naomi, you suck." She started to break down. She asked for the microphone in the middle of the match. She wanted to address the crowd.
Oh, for the love of all that's holy. Girl, you need to get over yourself. Fans have a right to call out that players suck.
That's all the heckler said, supposedly, is, "You suck." And it set her off into tears. And she has to address the crowd. Has to take it upon herself to address the crowd.
Nope.
And of course, everybody remembers Indian Wells was where the Williams sisters got upset because people booed them because of the manipulation that was supposedly going on at the time with their father,
right,
fixing matches between Venus and Serena.
Yeah.
And of course, it had to be racist.
No, people are allowed to boo poor behavior, and manipulation. There's no call for that to happen. Booing is every crowd's right. Calling out "you suck" is a crowd's right. These athletes are so damn pampered. Grow up, get some thick skin, learn to freaking deal with it.
We all know, we've talked about it on this show over the last year. Yes, people have mental health issues. We are not denigrating people with mental health issues. Legitimate mental health issues. But Naomi Osaka keeps coming back time and time again.
And she's
making commercials.
She's all well and good until things start to unravel for her. Then she pulls the "oh, I have issues" card.
Or I need to speak to the crowd. I can't handle the heckler. I'm going to cry.
Only when she struggles or when she's not at her peak.
If she legitimately cannot handle this, number one, her handlers, her parents, people in her life need to say, you need to find another walk of life. You need to go into art. You need to go into sales, accounting. Job. You need to go into something else because you obviously cannot handle being a big-time athlete. And I don't want to hear, oh, it's our fault. It's the fans' fault. It's the commentators, the critics' fault. No, it's her fault because at some point in time, you have got to get a thicker skin and deal with it when you're on a professional stage in front of hundreds of thousands of people at home, tens of thousands of people in a tennis stadium. You have got to have a thicker skin.
Learn to deal with it.
And the fact that we coddle her and we baby her over and over again drives me insane. This is all we do in our snowflake society, is we say, it's okay. What are you going to do for her now? Are you going to pull all the fans out of the stands? Only the fans? Only the people she wants?
When she plays to an empty stadium? Is that what you're going to do? Because obviously that's the only situation she knows how to deal with.
You watch. You watch. They'll do something, some kind of concession for her. Mm-hmm. If she has legitimate mental health issues, she needs to get away from tennis and go into something else.
Yeah. She should not be subjecting herself to this. Obviously,
and it's not our fault. It's not the heckler's fault. She needs to go away for her own well-being. We're actually trying to tell her to take care of herself. If she can't handle this,
stop putting yourself in the situations.
Not everybody can handle every situation. Dave was talking about getting on ladders. There's people that can get on ladders morning, noon, and night and be okay with it. Some of us don't like it. You obviously, as great as you are at tennis, you can't handle the pressure of the crowd. Get away from it. It's a very simple equation. And this is what's wrong with our society, is these people cannot deal with the simple equations and the simple facts.
If you can't do something, stop doing it. Why should every concession have to be made?
The old saying, as we wrap up here, we'll see you at the weekend edition. If you can't stand the heat, get out of the fucking kitchen. He's the Conquistador. I'm the Maestro. Check out the weekend edition. We love you. We'll see you later.